Okay, so let's write the line equation for this first one. So if you're writing a line equation, the first thing that you should know is a line equation is y equals mx plus b. Well, m stands for my slope, b stands for my y-intercept. So I can clearly see that my y-intercept, which is where it crosses the y-axis, is -2. And I can clearly see my slope is go up 2 and over 1. So my slope is 2 over 1. And that would be my final answer. You could also simplify 2 over 1 to just be 2. So it's probably going to be written as y equals 2x minus 2. Let's try the next one. This one wants us to write a line equation, so we again go y equals mx plus b. This again is my slope, and this again is my y-intercept. And they give me my slope and my y-intercept, so I'm just going to write them in. Y equals 5 over 3x plus 2 over 3. And then I'm done. So don't overthink this one just because they gave you both. It's really just plugging them in. It's just checking to make sure, do you know what a slope is and do you know what a y-intercept is. Let's try the next one. As we kind of build an order in this like line day, because we got another line problem, this one wants to know our slope and it gives us a point. So what we're going to do is we're going to say y, whoops, need my pen. So we're going to say y equals mx plus b. Well, now again we know its slope, which is 3, so I'm going to say y equals 3x plus b, but the problem is I don't know my y-intercept. So how would I find my y-intercept? Well, I'm going to use these 2 points, and I know that this is an x and this is a y. So because I know this is an x and this is a y, I can use that and plug it in here. So we're going to get 5 equals 3 times -2 plus b. Well, now that we have that, we're going to get 5 equals -6 plus b. We'll add 6 to both sides, and we're going to get that b is equal to 11. So if b equals 11 and 3 is my slope, then I would know that my line equation would be this right here. And that would be my final answer. Again, you want to write out your line equation and then plug in x and y to find your b value. Let's try the next one. Let's keep this line equation train rolling. When we've been given 2 points and we need to write the line equation, again, I'm going to say we have our line equation, which is y equals mx plus b. This time, they don't give us either the slope or the y-intercept, so we got to find both. If they give you 2 points to find a slope, all you have to do is do y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So I'm going to do that, which would be -2 minus 5 over -4 minus a -3. Do not forget this negative sign in front of the 3. It's really common to do. And that's how we get bad answers on the bottom. What I'm going to do is I see 2 negatives, so I'm going to make it a positive. So this would be -7 over a -1, which we know would simplify to be +7. So I'm just going to plug that in. So I have y equals 7x plus b. Now I found my slope. Halfway done. I now just need to find my b value. Well, I know this is an x and a y, and this is an x and a y, so I get to choose either pair that I want. I think I'll go with the first pair. I don't think it really matters in this case because both have negatives, so there's not really a better one. So we'll just use the first one because that seems the easiest. So then y is -2 and x is -4. Make sure you plug them into their 2 different spots, or if you mix them up, bad things would happen. So we get -2 equals -28 plus b. We'll add 28 to both sides. And I'm going to get that b is equal to 26. So my whole line equation would be y equals 7x plus 26. Let's try the next one. Okay, so let's solve this system. To solve this system, I would need to figure out how to multiply to get them to cross out. In this one, we can see that this is a negative 3x. This is a negative 9. So if I want these to be the same thing, I would just have to times that top part by I'm going to say a negative 3. If you used a positive 3, the problem is negative 9 plus negative 9 doesn't cancel. So a negative 3 would make that cancel out. So we would get 9x minus 21y equals negative 16, or whoops, not negative 16, positive 48, because we still have to do negative 3 times that. Then we're going to put the bottom right beneath it. And what I'm going to have happen is the x's will cancel. This is going to give me negative 16y. This is going to give me 54. And if you divide 54 by negative 16, you end up getting negative 4. So we have negative 4y. We're going to take that and plug that in for one of these two equations. I'm going to plug it into that bottom equation. So we're going to get negative 9x plus 5 times negative 4 equals 16. That's going to give me negative 9x minus 20 equals 16. I'm going to add 20 to both sides. And we're going to get negative 9x, whoops, I didn't get a scroll, equals 36. Divide by negative 9, and we can see that also will give us negative 4. So again, for all these problems, make sure you kind of have the same numbers, so they're going to cross out. Then after you have the same numbers, you're going to solve or use elimination to get this side, so you get a single answer. And once you have that answer, you just have to plug it back in to find your second answer. Worst case scenario, if it's multiple choice, you could just plug in your x and your y into this equation and hope it works out. So now we're going to deal with some literal equations. Here's the first thing that you should notice. See this little like dot and semicolon and w? That just tells you what to solve for. You actually don't need any of that information. It's just because there's so many variables, they want you to know what you're going to try to get by itself. So we're going to try to get w by itself. So then we're going to think about, how would I get w by itself? Well, the first thing I know is I don't want this 2l on the same side as w if I want to get it by itself. Now if I think about, how would I get rid of that 2l? Well, what I would do is I would just subtract it over. So we're going to just subtract that 2l over and get p minus 2l equals 2w. And then when we have this, we're going to go, well, how am I going to get rid of the 2? Well, since 2 is attached to w, or it's multiplying it, all we would have to do is divide by 2. And we're going to get p minus 2l over 2 is equal to w. And that would be my final answer, or b in this case. Let's try the next one. For this one, we're going to solve for t. So I have I always forget to grab my pen. I equals PRT. And again, they want us to solve for t, so we want to get t by itself. Well, now I'm looking and I see, oh, p and r are timesing t. Now some people get a little bit confused because they go, well, can I divide p and r at the same time? And the answer is yes. Like, you're allowed to do this because if we could, we would multiply these two things together if we knew what they were, and so it would be one number. So you can think of p and r as like one giant number instead of thinking of it as two separate numbers as it is right now. So we're going to divide p and r at the same time and get I over pr equals t. And that would be our final answer, which it looks like this one matches. Yeah, there we go. So let's try the next one. Okay, so when we're looking at this, it says what are solutions of inequalities, and then graph the solutions given here. And so this one, it looks a little bit tricky, but it's not as bad as it looks. So when you're dealing with a problem that looks like this, what you want to think about is, I know I want to get the x by itself, so I want to get rid of that 4. Well, how would I get rid of that 4? I'm going to add 4, And then some people go, well, where do I add the 4 to? Do I add it to the 5 or the negative 19? Well, the answer to it is both, because really, like, all sides are trying to balance at the same time, and we just kind of combine two equations together. So we're trying to balance both sides at the same time. So we need to add 4 on this side and add 4 on this side, and that will give us negative 15, and this would be 3x, and this would be 9. Then at this stage, I want to get that x by itself, so I would just divide everything by 3, and we're going to end up getting x is less than 3, and x is less than negative 5. And that would be our final answer. Now we have to look for where it's going to be on the graph. So I know this is an open dot, and this is an open dot, which, if we look over here, doesn't help us that much because they all have open dots. But the nice part is we do know that this is 3 and this is negative 5, so we just have to find where 3 and negative 5 would be, which I believe is B. Oh, and they even had it written for us up here. Well, that's kind of nice. So that would be our final answer. Let's do the next one. So in this one, we're going to try to solve this solution. And so when we're solving this solution, I'm going to take this right here. And now I'm going to try to get x by itself. So I'm going to add 1, get negative 2x is greater than 6, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. What happens when I divide by a negative in inequality? The sign is going to flip. So we have to think about, like, the sign's going to flip because oh no, do not restart right now. The sign's going to flip because dividing by negative changes the operators, so the bigger side is now the smaller side, and the smaller side is now the bigger side. So we need to flip the sign to kind of agree with that. So we're going to get x is less than negative 3. And that looks like it would be A. Let's do the next one. Okay, so it says, which of the following statements must be false? So we're going to look at this right here. And it looks like it goes, Sue's driving in the country. Sue was going at constant speed. Well, that's got to be false, because it looks like her distance is always increasing, but it's increasing at different amounts. Like this slope is not the same as this slope, right? Like at this time, she's not even getting further away from home. So she's probably stopped at a stoplight. So she can't have gone at a constant speed from 10 to 11 because she stops. So that's got to be the answer. But let's check the other ones to see if there's any more that are false or if we made any mistake. Sue's the furthest away at 12 to 2. Well, that's true, because that's the highest point. So that one's true. That one checks out. Sue's home by 5. Well, it's back at 0, so that one checks out. Sue drove slower at 2 to 3 than 4 to 5. Well, 2 to 3 would be here, and 4 to 5 would be here. Yeah, I guess that's true. It's kind of, the slopes are very similar, but this one looks like it's a little bit steeper, like it's going back a little bit faster. So, yeah, I could see that one being true. And this one we said was definitely false, so I agree with the original one that A is the wrong choice. Even in these questions, if you get your first statement and you're like, oh, your first statement's false, that's the answer. Moving on. I would check all the other ones just in case you read it or made a tiny mistake. Like, it's always smart to think through all your other options that you have before deciding on a single option. So let's go to the next one. Okay, so it says, which is the solution? 6k minus 8 is equal to 5 plus 6k. So let's solve this. Again, normally your first step is to get all the k's together. I'm going to subtract this 6k with this 6k. And when I do that, I'm going to get negative 8 is equal to 5. And I'm going to go, uh-oh, can negative 8 be 5? No, negative 8's not 5. Like, that's not true. So this is a no solution. Which is different than 0 in this case because no solutions for like lines, they're parallel, so that would be zero intersections, but no solutions for just regular equations where they haven't told us their lines or looking for a system. We're going to just say no solution. We could actually get 0 as an answer for a variable here. So those are two different things. So just be very careful that you put no solution in this case instead of 0 solutions. Let's do the next one. We've made it to the last one. So let's look at the last one and kind of see what we do to solve this. I want to get this time C by itself. So let's circle C. Oh, I need my pen. I think that was a plus in between. So on this one, when you want to solve for C, it's kind of like the other ones that we just did before. We want to move the A and the 2B over. So to move the A, I'm going to subtract 2A over. And then to move the B, I'm going to subtract the 2B over. And then we're going to end up getting 2A minus 2B is equal to C. And that would be my final answer. If you have any questions, again, let me know. Please keep going through each one of these. Like, you really want to go through every question, so by the time you get to the final, you have a good idea of how to do everything. And again, the strategy for the final is, maybe you don't know how to do everything, but you know enough things that you're going to get the grade that you want. Like, this is day number 3, so we've kind of gone through, we go through 12 questions a day, which really matches up to the 30 questions on the final. You should probably know how to do at least 10 of these, like maybe skip 2, but you really want to know how to do at least 10 of these problems if you expect to do well on this final. Okay? Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll help you then.